let's try again. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Crowd Chatter podcast. Today we're going to have week 2 of college football. We had week 1 just last week, opening week, which ended up being a very fun and entertaining week of football. Now we've moved on. We're officially in week 2. Um, Week 2 here. Once again, no Sam, no Serbenski. As I've mentioned before, we're all very busy. Getting all of us on here is nearly impossible, let alone getting one of us on here is very difficult. One of them on here is very difficult, let alone both of them. So, obviously, still trying to work through that and figure that situation out. As of right now, none of them are here today, and I don't have their picks either, so that will make this a little challenging as I'll only be filling out mine today because I don't have anyone else's. So, um, going into this one, you guys know how these start. We start with our shockers of the week. None of us got week 1. We all lost our opening shockers. Nobody got week 1, so we're all still at 0, all still looking for our first of the year. I went for a bigger point total last week with Hawaii over Arizona. I'm gonna go for one that I think is a bit more of a surefire thing, and that is Kansas over Missouri this week. Missouri is a 6.5 point favorite. The Jayhawks are on the road for this one. Missouri, like I said, 6.5 point favorite. So I have Kansas taking the win against Missouri. A bit of a rivalry match here. These two are not fans of each other. Should be a competitive game. That's what I'll be going with for my shocker. Like I said, 6.5 point line. I think it's a pretty um, you know, I think it's a pretty good guarantee. I think it'll be a competitive game, so I think Kansas has a legitimate shot at doing it. And might as well get myself on the board. So 6.5 point line there as it stands. It'll probably stay around there. Maybe it'll go a little lower. Nonetheless, I'm taking Kansas over Missouri. As I said, only my picks today, so let's just get through this, and this will probably go pretty quick. Oklahoma State going on the road to take on the 6th-ranked Oregon Ducks. So, you're gonna see with these first few games that this is just not a good week of football games. A lot of these, I kind of had to stretch to even create really a list of 20. But I did. I made a list of 20. And so we start with this first one here. Oregon at home for this one. This is Oregon. Oklahoma State is still not a good team. This team just is not it. Obviously, we saw the disaster of last season. Was not pretty. Um, I'm going with the Ducks to win this one pretty easily. I just think Oklahoma State is not back yet. Mike Gundy probably has another year or so before he can really resurrect that program. Obviously, like I said, last year was pretty much a disaster. North Texas going on the road to take on Western Michigan. Interesting, interesting road game for an American team. Going to a MAC school. Um, Western lost their opener of the season to Michigan State last Friday. North Texas, I don't remember who they played, but they ended up winning their game. The only I would consider taking Western Michigan if this was like say October/November when it's actually going to be cold in Kalamazoo. But this is September when it's still going to be 70 degrees, and weather is not going to be a factor in this one. I think it could be competitive, um, just because it's a road game, but I still have North Texas taking the win. I got the Mean Green just slightly getting the edge here, so I'll go with North Texas to get the win in Kalamazoo. Then we have CMU, Central Michigan, heading on the road to face the Pitt Panthers. Obviously, if you guys know Calvin from this podcast, he's now a coach at Central Michigan. And as much as I'd love to pick the Chippewas to get the win here, I am a big fan of Pitt's quarterback and Eli Holstein, and I think and Pitt is definitely a little bit better than San Jose State is. I think Pitt is a really an underrated team. Like I said, that Eli Holstein, Bama transfer. I think that not enough people are talking about that guy. He does have immense amounts of talent. Um, I'm taking Pitt to win this one. Sorry, Calvin. Prove me wrong, but I'm going with the Panthers to take the win. And then in another game where we have a bigger team heading on the road to a max goal, we have West Virginia heading on the road to face the Ohio Bobcats. Ohio actually nearly pulled an upset last week. They ended up only losing by 3 to Rutgers this past week. So they actually nearly came up with the upset. But here's the problem for Ohio. West Virginia is much better than Rutgers is. And while maybe there is a chance that that Ohio could come up with a win here, being at home, I think West Virginia is definitely the much better team. I'll give them the edge here on the road. And then next we have UCLA going on the road to take on UNLV. I'm not going to take too long with this one. UCLA got absolutely spanked by Utah at home. That was an ugly, ugly loss. Not that UNLV has looked that impressive to start either. I mean, they were pretty bad against Idaho State and barely beat which is an FCS team, mind you, and barely beat them. And then UNLV ended up having an okay win against Sam Houston State. Just not a good look for the Rebels to start. Although UCLA is also looking pretty bad here to start, so I'll take UNLV to get the win at home. Houston going on the road to take on Rice. These are two beyond awful teams. I debated just kind of flipping the coin for this one, but I am going to give it to Houston just because they're the bigger school. Rice is just not that good. Houston, at least, is a bigger school, has some, probably some bigger players. I know they have the ex Texas A&M quarterback and Connor Weigman or whatever. Um, so I think it's Wigman actually. It might be Weigman. I don't know. Then on either way, they have the ex Texas A&M quarterback. I'll go with Houston just because, again, like I said, bigger school. Stanford on the road against BYU. As I said, these games are going to go really quick because there's just not much to really say about any of these. Stanford is not looking good. I mean, you lose to Hawaii. I think BYU is definitely the better team here. I got BYU Cougars. San Diego State going on the road to take on Washington State. Finally, we kind of have a game that maybe could be somewhat competitive. I am going to go with San Diego State though to get the win on the road here. Mostly because I looked at Washington State and I saw they apparently had to have a last-second field goal to beat Idaho, and that was to win 13-10. So I'm not enthusiastic about Washington State at the moment. So I'll go the Aztecs to get the win. Fresno State on the road against Oregon State. This is going to be, I think, a competitive game. Should be very, very fun. But I'm going to go with Oregon State to defend home turf here, win in Corvallis. Malik Murphy's first game with the Beavers did not go as planned, with Cal more or less handling them just last week. But I think this is a very good. I think this is an Oregon State team that certainly will be competitive all season. Fresno State will prove to be, I'm sure, difficult, but I am going to give the edge to the Beavers to win it at home. Then we have Arizona State going on the road against Mississippi State. I don't care if it's a road game. Mississippi State is still god awful. I'm taking Arizona State to wipe the floor. Mississippi State is just not a good team. USF going on the road to take on the Florida Gators. USF had a really good week in week one. They had a home game against Boise State. Of course, the Ashton Gentilis Boise State, but Boise State nonetheless. They still had their quarterback from last year. They played Boise State, and they absolutely dismantled them. I don't mean that they didn't just beat them; they destroyed them. It was honestly very surprising, and I don't think it was anything anyone was really expecting to see, which has kind of made this game against Florida now very interesting because USF really impressed in week one. And I mean, this is not the last of their really brutal non-conference schedule. I mean, they have Florida this week. Next week, they're going to have Miami, Florida. Or is that? No, I think it was next week. Yeah, they start the year with Boise State, Florida, and Miami, Florida. So quite the stretch of games for USF. I mean, at least they get to stay in Florida the entire time because they're at home, which is Tampa. Then they're in Gainesville, then they're in Miami. So at least they're still within the state. But that's a lot of tough games for them, and they won the first one pretty easily. I think this could end up being an upset, but I just think with Florida, we all know the swamp. We all know how devastating that place is. We all know how hostile it is there. I think that'll just be a little too much for USF to handle. I think they might maybe they make it close for like a half or something or three quarters. But I think in the end, Florida's going to pull away and get the win here and go to 2-0 for the season. Next, we have the Baylor Bears going on the road to take on the 17th ranked SMU Mustangs. Baylor lost their first game of the season, losing in their home opener to Auburn. Auburn absolutely gashed them on the ground. They had their way offensively. I think a similar thing is going to happen here with SMU. I think SMU is similarly going to have their way with the Baylor Bears offensively. I think Baylor will put up their fair share of points as well, but I think SMU is going to have a little bit more offense in them to beat Baylor. So I'm going to give it to SMU. Next, we have Ole Miss going on the road to face Kentucky. This is a road game, but Ole Miss to me is the better team. Kentucky did not look very good in what was a non-conference game in week one. I think, like I said, Ole Miss I just think is a better football team in general, and so I am going to take Ole Miss to win this one. Next, we have the Vanderbilt Commodores heading on the road to take on Virginia Tech. Vandy got them last year. If you guys remember that game from last season, Vanderbilt did get the win against Virginia Tech at home. This is the back end of a home and home series. Um, I think this could be a competitive game. Vanderbilt is not a bad team, but I think Virginia Tech is slightly better. I said this last year. I just said it is that Virginia Tech's not Vandy, but Vandy actually looked competitive last season. Virginia Tech lost their season opener to South Carolina. I think at home in Blacksburg, they get the win over the Commodores and get themselves their first win of the season. Next, we have Boston College on the road against Michigan State. Similarly, also a back end of a home and home series here. Man, how many Boston College fans right now are wishing they still had Thomas Castellanos on the team? Um, I think this could be a competitive game. I don't think really either one of these teams are all that great. And last year, like I said, back having home and home. Last year was in Boston College. Boston College got the just slightly got the better of Michigan State and pulled I think it was a close win for Boston College or something like that. I remember 23-19. I don't remember the exact score, but I remember that Boston College got themselves a narrow victory. I think it goes the other way here. I think Michigan State gets the win this time. They are the home team. Like I said, no Thomas Castellanos to really save Boston College this time. They had that last year. They had that safety valve, and they just don't really have that this year. So I am going to go with Michigan State. Next, we have the Virginia Cavaliers going on the road to face NC State. Now, I planned on actually bringing a coin here for this, not literally just flip the coin and see who it lands on, but I don't have the coin with me, so I'm just gonna kind of do a random pick here. I'll just say Virginia. NC State, close game against ECU. Not the prettiest win. Virginia looked pretty darn good against Coastal Carolina. I'll go with Virginia. It's more so just gut pick. I'm not really giving it too much thought here. Next is my shocker, which is Kansas on the road against Missouri. I already picked Kansas as my shocker. I'm sticking with it here. Jalen Daniels is healthy for the Kansas Jayhawks. He is he's now in year 6, but Jalen Daniels is an outstanding quarterback. His only problem, really, the grand majority of his career, has been a lack of health. And right now, he's fully healthy. He doesn't have any limitations. Doesn't have any problems at all. Um, Kansas, and you look at Missouri. And over the past 2 years, they've lost all of their good all their great players to the NFL. So you're looking at a team that has basically lost everybody, and a team that has their QB healthy finally. I'm gonna go with Kansas here to get the win on the road. I think it'll be very tight. I think it'll be a very competitive game. Probably one of the better ones of this week, minus some other exceptions here. We'll see in a minute. But I'm going to give the edge to Kansas in this one. Next is Illinois going on the road to face Duke. Now, I'm not a believer in the Illinois Fighting Illini. Quite frankly, I don't understand what in the world they are doing at number 11. Um, to me, they're really just not that good of a team. Heck, I'm not even sure they're really ranked worthy of a team. Sure, they're a solid team, but ranked number 11, directly behind South Carolina and just outside the top 10. No. And I know Alabama lost to Florida State, and so they dropped a big portion. But if you're going to tell me that if Illinois and Alabama are going to face each other, Alabama's winning 10 times out of 10. Just my opinion. Anyway, for this game, like I said, not a believer really in Illinois, but the teams are going to beat them. I don't think Duke is it. Duke is a decent team, but I just think Illinois is a little bit better than them. It'll be a tight game. It'll be close. It'll probably be a fun one, but I am going to go with Illinois to get the win here. And then next we have the Iowa Hawkeyes going on the road to take on Iowa State. It's the Battle of the Iowas. It's a week 2 game every year, and it's always a great game. I have no idea who's going to win this game. Mostly just because every time these two play, it's always close, and no one ever runs away with it, no matter how good the one team is and how bad the other team is. So this should be another great game. It's going to be in Ames this year. Last year was in Iowa City, which was a tight 1-1, a last-second field goal, I believe, by Iowa State. Iowa State brings back their QB from last year. They still have Rocco Becht. I'll give it to Iowa State. I don't really know why. I'm gonna go with the home team here. Again, this could be anybody's game. I mean, I could easily see Iowa win it just as much as Iowa State could win it. So I have no clue. I'm just going with the team that's ranked and I've seen a little bit. I have not seen Iowa yet. I don't know. This is a random pick. You could pick Iowa and be just as right as I am. Who knows about this game? It is always a tough game to predict because it is so. Every year it's always wild and it's always fun. But I'll go with Iowa State winning at home, winning in Ames, and improving to 3-0 on the year. And then lastly, we have our game of the week, Michigan, 15th Michigan. They dropped one for whatever reason. Going on the road to face on Oklahoma. Don't know how Michigan could drop behind Florida State, who literally just jumped into the rankings after beating Alabama. Michigan would beat Florida State. Come on. Anyway, Huge game for the Wolverines early on. This is obviously the game by far the game of the week. I mean, there's not even another ranked versus ranked matchup on the week here, and nothing really comes close to this game. So, with that being said, this is going to be huge for really both teams. I mean, Oklahoma obviously would like to win this game, get a win against a good Big Ten team. Um, the thing for Oklahoma is with the SEC, there are multiple opportunities for the Sooners to make up for a potential loss here. Michigan doesn't have that luxury. I mean, outside of Oklahoma, the only ranked team that's on their schedule is Ohio State. So you would like to, say you'd like to have a safety valve and win one of those two games. And considering this is your week 2 one, this is a huge one for them. And now I'm sure most of you probably expect me to be the homer and take the Wolverines, which I absolutely want to do. But this is what makes it difficult. Because for the Wolverines, your starting quarterback's a true freshman. Yes, hot shot, really stinking good, true freshman in Bryce Underwood. For the second ever start in his career, first ever start in the road game, and by far biggest start of his career against by far, his biggest test. That's a lot for a true freshman to handle. I don't, care how, high your pedigree is. I mean, and again, hostile environment, you're going on the road. I mean, we saw Arch Manning in his, first start on the road last week, and good grief, that was awful. Now, I'm not saying that's what Bryce Underwood is going to do, but you know, it might not be what people are hoping for. I mean, road game, it just, like I said, there's just a lot of unknown variables that could not go to Wolverine's way. So I want to take Michigan in this one, but I think there's just a little too many unknowns for them. I'm gonna go with Oklahoma here. I think Oklahoma's more of a sure thing. I think they're even a safer pick. Yes, if Michigan plays to their highest potential, I think they very much could. I think they very much would beat Oklahoma. But you know, if this game were to happen several weeks into the year, I think Michigan would beat Oklahoma. But right now, I don't know if they can do that. That's the thing. It's like if you're talking about this game, that Michigan playing this game in like November or even October, yeah, I'd feel pretty comfortable about their odds of beating Oklahoma. But right now, I don't know. Right now, I'm just not sure about it. You know, who knows? I'm gonna go with Oklahoma here. I'm hoping I'm wrong, but I'm not sure that I am. And that's it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. As I said, quicker one. Normally these go a little bit longer because we have more people on here, but it's just me. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. Hopefully we'll get um, either Sam or Srebensky on here at some point. We just need to figure out a day that really works for one of the two, or at some point maybe both of them. Who knows? But until then, I'll see. Sorry. I'll see you guys next time. Until then, adios, everyone.